Hello friends, this is Vicki from Stamp Smiles with another Whimsy Stamps video. Today this is a video that has been requested by a few of my viewers called Multicolored Mask Background, where I'm going to show you how I've made the cards that you see here. So I'm starting out with this Whimsy Stamps Santa Stop Here rubber stamp from the Drawn with Character collection. And you will notice when you get the stamp that the sentiment that goes inside the sign is actually separate from the image, which I think is cool because you can use the sign to say whatever you want it to if you want to write in your own message or stamp something else if you want. So I'm inking it up with Black Brilliance ink onto an 80-pound piece of cardstock measuring 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And here I am inking it up again on a piece of Inkadikado masking paper. And I'm going to try to preserve as much as I can by stamping it in the corner. And I'm going to very carefully cut it out for my mask that I'm going to put over top of the image that I stamped on the white panel. And I'm doing this because I'm going to make the mask background. If you do not want to mask, you don't have to. You can always stamp and color and cut out the image and then place it over top of this background if you want. But I was trying to keep my card flat. And I even cut out the little feet, and you'll notice in between the pull and the penguin's feet at the bottom, I did not cut out that little hole. But what I did, and you'll see later on in the video, all I did was use a Copic marker to match the color of the background, and I just colored it in rather than trying to make a little hole for creating the background. And here I'm just taking some extra pieces and ripping them to go across the bottom for the snow ground. So what I've done is I'm taking this Stitch Border Dies Trio from Whimsy Stamps, and if you remember my last video using die cuts for embossing paste rather, I put them in this envelope so that I can save them for later. And I've cut a piece of acetate with that curved border over the top, and this is what I'm going to use for my mask. This way I can clean it and I can continue to reuse it over and over. Now you don't have to use the acetate. You can certainly use regular paper. So obviously what I'm going to do is use a bunch of different colors of distress ink with my foam ink blending tool. And I really do not have a plan in mind or intended when I started this card. I am just going to really use a lot of various different colors of ink. But what you see I'm doing here is I'm just placing the foam blending tool onto the acetate first and making a brush upward motion towards the paper. And you don't have to clean this every single time, but I think for the darker inks, maybe it just looks like it could make a mess and blend in with the other colors, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep the colors separately. What I'm going to show you now is I'm taking the second line on the mask background, and just so you can see, you can tilt it so that it runs into the other color on the line. You can put it wherever you want. You can make the lines thin or thicker, however you want it to look. There's no right or wrong in this at all. But you just take the foam blending tool and you make an upward motion on the acetate up onto the paper. And it creates these really cool wavy lines in the background. And what I like most about it is when you use lots of different rainbow colors. I think it has a really neat effect. You will see here when I use this brighter color what the whole pattern starts to look like. And then of course I'm just going to continue to keep going down all the way down across my image that you see here. I've changed to a green color on this one, and I'm just going to continue going down, and I've gotten to the blue colors. Like I said, I had no pattern for this whatsoever. And as I continue on down to the end, you will see where I put the ripped masking paper on it. and I pretty much am running out of room, so I've just kind of covered it up. You want to be careful too to hold it down securely while you're using the ink, blending it in. And don't forget to clean up your sheet and your acetate sheet so you can use it again. And now the fun part comes the revealing of the masking paper. It's so fun to peel it off and then see the untouched image underneath and how cool that looks. So now I'm going to show you how you get the sentiment to stamp straight onto the sign. I'm using the old-fashioned Stamp-A-Majig, and because you can't see through it, it's not a clear stamp. So I'm lining up the plastic sheet that comes with the Stamp-A-Majig and lining it up with that marker and stamping the stamp. And then I can see through it on this plastic sheet, so I'm just lining it up where I want it to be. And then I'm just taking the Stamp-A-Majig marker and putting it right there where it needs to be. And then I ink the sentiment up again and remove the plastic sheet, and it should stamp exactly where you want it to be. So now what I'm doing here, you see that I've got the image all colored in. I didn't want to bore you with how I colored it in. I'm taking a 0.3 Copic multi-liner pen, and I'm just making some extra marks on the ends of where the snow line was on the rubber stamp image, just to kind of extend the snow lines out a little bit. And I'm just going to finish it off with some Wink of Stella. You can certainly put glitter or anything that you want to use for the snow, but I wanted to keep my card flat, and I'm sending it for a cause that I didn't want to use glitter. What I'm using here is called a liquid applique pen, and I've heard lots of people use called like a popcorn pen or something. It is like a liquid, I don't know, it's like a white liquid gel. But what happens is when you heat it up, it has a really cool effect where it kind of puffs out. I guess that's why they call it the popcorn pen, because it kind of does look like popcorn, but it makes a really cool effect. So if you watch closely, as I heat this up with the heat tool, it starts to foam up and it starts to look really puffy. And all the little dots that I made around it for the snowfall starts to puff up right along with it. And it really adds a really cool dimension to your finished card. And what I also like about it is it doesn't add a lot of bulk to your card either, and it will kind of just fit in your card flat in your envelope and just kind of smush down, and it will spring back up. So on this, I just finished it off by attaching it to a piece of white cardstock. And here my cutter blade is dull, so it's making those little shrapnels on the end of the edge of the cardstock, which I hate. So I'm just taking a sanding tool and sanding it off. That's how you know that your cutting blade is dull and needs to be replaced. So now I'm just going to finish the card and attach the front of it onto a red piece of folded A2 size card. And it's ready to be sent off to a charity to help send a smile their way. And now I wanted to show you also a different version of this card. As you can see, I used some purples and greens for this card. I hope you've enjoyed the multicolored mask background. Thanks for stopping by.